Good morning, Facebook friends. Helen Archontou here, CEO of the YWCA of Northern New Jersey. So happy to have some time with you today. As you know, YWTV is all about educating and inspiring you. And today's conversation is one that I know a lot of our viewers will really feel connected to. It'll definitely resonate for a lot of us. We know that a lot of people are struggling with the concerns of being home and managing caring for loved ones, juggling homeschooling their children, and at the same time, actually working a job during this time that we are living like this. It's important as a, to know your rights as a working family, though. It's key to helping navigate these challenging times. And we may not have even realized that we have rights as a family at this time. We just might be going through the motions each day. And we thought it was important to bring on today's guest so that she could give us some information about that. So with that, I would like to welcome Yarrow Willman-Cole of New Jersey Citizen Action. And New Jersey Citizen Action is a statewide grassroots organization that fights for social, racial, and economic justice. And Yarrow is also the coordinator of the New Jersey Time to Care Coalition. So we're so happy to have her with us this morning. Welcome, Yarrow.
Good morning. Hi, nice to be here. Thank you for having me.
So before we jump in, let me tell them a little bit about you. Yarrow is the director of the Workplace Justice Program at New Jersey Citizen Action, and as I shared, also the coordinator of the New Jersey Time to Care Coalition. Through her role with New Jersey Citizen Action, she has successfully won a state-paid sick leave law, which is huge, and expanded the state's paid leave programs, temporary disability, and family leave insurance programs. She has a BA in Spanish from Ohio University and a master's from the School of Management and Labor Relations at Rutgers. She lives in Union with her husband and her two young daughters. So she truly understands the juggling act that families are going through because she's living it herself.
She's under 5. Well, Selena just turned 5, but you know what I mean. The little kids.
Yeah, they are little. And I do think it doesn't matter what age your kids are at home. There's different challenges that come with this juggling act right now. But they all, there's this wonderfulness about being together on some hand, in the midst of all the unfortunate grief and tragedy that's been going on around us. There is something, nice about being together with our family, but there is so much pressure and stress. Right. That goes with this. So tell us a little bit about your work at New Jersey Citizen Action. And, it seems like you were kind of primed to jump in for this time to be able to support families.
Yes, thank you so much. So you did reference some of the wins that we've had, and I just want to make sure that folks understand how we got those wins. It was through coalition work. You mentioned the New Jersey Time to Care Coalition, and it's hundreds of different organizations, nonprofits, policy organizations, community-based groups, labor, religious groups, all coming together, trying to make some positive change to help working families. And the focus in the beginning was around paid family leave, right? We're only the second state in the country to actually have a paid family leave program after California. And that was actually because the coalition formed, saw this as a solution for a lot of working families, parents, people caring for not only their children, bonding with children, but also caring for their loved ones, and how they could afford to be able to take the time off of work to do that. And so the program is actually over 10 years old. And so we looked at it recently, and we decided that we really needed to increase access, and we needed to make it more equitable because a lot of folks weren't able to access it, weren't able to take time off. And we'll talk about that in a little bit. But I just want to make sure, I recognize that work was collective action through lots and lots of different organizations and workers sharing their stories, people testifying, and a lot of hard work. A lot of people worked on that.
Yeah, there's no doubt when they talk about taking a village that to get legislation legislation of that magnitude passed that it takes a village, but so grateful that all of the organizations and individuals helped make that happen, and that we have organizations like yours to help facilitate that process for sure. So can you tell us a little bit about the rights of New Jersey families to take leave now during this time of COVID?
Yeah, so I should just say that New Jersey, as I mentioned, we're only one of a few states that has a paid family leave program. And we're actually way ahead of the game in terms of what we offer and protections and programs that we have in New Jersey for permanent access to paid time off, but it's also related to COVID. And some of the programs have expanded, and the governor has implemented some executive orders that really are there to help protect workers during this really, it's an important time to really make it clear why paid leave is so important, right? Because we can't afford to go to work sick, right? It's just not an option. But what do we do when we don't have pay, right? It can't put people in a financial situation where they can't afford to eat, where they can't afford to pay their bills just because they're trying to protect their family's health, their coworkers' health, the public's health, right? So that's why, I think this issue has become really, really relevant. We just all sort of get it, right? But I'll tell you a little bit about what Governor Murphy has done specifically around the coronavirus. So there was a law that he signed right around the beginning of the pandemic that prohibits employers from firing or punishing employees who request time off or take time off based on a medical professional's determination that they need to be in quarantine or seek diagnosis or treatment or recovery. So anything related to COVID and the public health emergency, because you shouldn't have to lose your job just because you're trying to save your life, right?
Right.
And so that's an important executive order that a lot of folks aren't aware of that's in place to protect workers' jobs. It doesn't talk about pay, though. So I just want to make that clear. And that will expire when the pandemic is over. So that is a temporary support. And there's also an executive order that is called, it's Executive Order 107, if you want to look it up. And what it says is that businesses or nonprofits have to accommodate their workers to be able to work from home where it's practical, where it's feasible. So if workers can accomplish their work from home, their employers should allow that to happen. And that makes sense. Obviously, when you're having your children at home doing remote learning, and you can do your work from home, then that's something that the employer should cooperate with. It's basically what this executive order is saying. Let's not make it harder on people, right? It's not specific to parents. It's really for anyone who needs to be able to stay at home and they can do their work at home. And you can file a complaint. There is a website that you can say, hey, my employer is making me come into work and I can actually accomplish do my job from home. So that's something that folks should be aware of, and that's temporary. That will expire. And then you mentioned the statewide earned sick leave law. Mm-hmm. That's permanent. That went into effect just over 2 years ago, I believe. I feel like it's hard to track time these days, but that was something that the coalition worked on for many years, and it's a floor. It's a basic standard that guarantees workers the right to earn just 5 days, 40 hours of paid sick time in a year. And the nice thing about it is it covers pretty much all workers, full-time, part-time, temporary, and it doesn't matter the immigration status. The employer must pay you the time that you earn, and it's for every 30 hours that you work, you earn 1 hour of paid sick time. The employer doesn't have to make you earn your time. They can just provide that time up to you, provide that time up front when you start working, but they can require that you earn it. Right now, we're actually working on a bill that's emergency sick days. That would be during a public health crisis. That would actually make it easier to access your time and expand the time available, because 5 days isn't enough. We know that this during a pandemic, right? We need more time. Quarantining, they're recommending 2 weeks, right? So that's something that we're working in the legislature. The Time to Care Coalition is trying to make the case that that's a solution that the state can provide workers, in part because the federal government hasn't, right? And we're going to talk about that in a minute. Yeah. But that's a basic standard for everybody, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so challenging. Obviously, this has gone on for so many months now. and that over the course of these months, an individual may have had to quarantine more than once.
Yeah.
So there's definitely a lot of challenges and unique situations to navigate, in terms of talking about.
And so this is really about providing workers with more options, right? Because, before we had the paid sick day law, workers could just be let go because they call in and say, hey, I don't feel well, or I have to stay home because my child doesn't feel well. And so what that does is it really does force people to go to work sick. I mean, we had a story of someone who actually, she brought her sick son into work. She worked at a department store. She put him in one of the little dressing rooms and let him stay there when he was sick because her boss said, no, you have to come in. And so it really creates this reality that we're humans, we get sick, we need to be able to take care of our health and our homes, right? That's just common sense. So we're hopefully changing the culture around what it means to care for ourselves and putting caregiving and caring for ourselves front and center. It shouldn't be last, right?
Yes, absolutely.
Yeah.
So, you mentioned a little bit about kind of, federal support. Which of course, hasn't necessarily been there. What federal laws or benefits are in place right now for workers who need to take leave because of COVID?
Okay, yeah. So what is it? November 18th? The laws that Congress passed expire at the end of the year. I just want to be upfront with that. What I'm going to tell you, use it now if you can. We don't know what Congress will do, right? We don't know if they're going to take action before the end of the year. There's a lot of talk around that. Obviously, with the changing administration, we're going to see efforts, right, to stop this kind of cliff that's coming with the expiration of a lot of these benefits. And also, we want to see these changes be permanent. We want to see a federal paid sick leave law. We want to see federal paid family leave, not just during coronavirus, but we need to respond to this crisis now. So I just want to be clear about that. What they did is they passed the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, for short, FFCRA. And this is really related to taking paid leave for anything related to COVID. And basically, because it is related to COVID, the fact that we have to stay home to care for our children when they're in remote learning, or if their school places are closed, or their child care provider is not available. And that actually does, by the way, include a family child care provider. So if you were going to have a family member care for your child, maybe your grandparent or somebody, and they cannot do that any longer because of the risk to themselves, that is counted. And so what it does is, if the employer has less than 500 employees, if they have more, they're exempt. They have to provide paid leave for 2 weeks related to your own health and COVID-19. And then it can also be for caregiving for a loved one. And then an additional 10 weeks for the remote schooling situation where you have to care for a child. It's actually, for caring for a child, it's a total of 12 weeks, because that first 2 weeks includes caring for a child because of remote schooling. It's a little complicated, but the employer is supposed to pay you. It's only partial pay if it's for caring for someone else, or remote, the remote schooling piece. And there is a cap of what they're supposed to pay you. And the employer pays you directly. You don't apply to the federal government. And then the employer gets reimbursed through tax credits. So it's really not a burden on the employer themselves to be able to do this. There's no argument against doing it for them, right? Long story about why the large employers got carved out, and that is a big thing in the next phase of whatever is negotiated to bring those big employers that can clearly afford to do this into providing this paid leave during this emergency. They also expanded unemployment. I just want to say, there's a lot of details to that, but basically the piece that I think folks should be aware of is there's something called Pandemic Unemployment Assistance, PUA. And what it did is it basically expanded the reasons that you can access unemployment. So typically, if you are asked to come back to work, if you were maybe temporarily laid off during the shutdown, or there's so many different scenarios. I won't go through them. But if you say, no, I can't return to work because I have to care for my child, or I have to deal with something related to COVID, either myself or caring for a loved one, you basically normally would be disqualified for unemployment, right? Because of this expansion that the federal government did, is now you can get unemployment. If you are the primary caregiver caring for a child who's dealing with remote schooling or school closures, you can then access unemployment. For whatever reason, if you're not able to take the other things that I mentioned, the paid leave through the earned sick leave, or if you're carved out of the Families First Coronavirus Response Act, this is another option for you. You have to explain to your employer what's going on. Hopefully, they won't try to make it harder for you to access this. But the point is that it doesn't mean that you're unemployed. It doesn't mean you're severing your relationship from your employer, but it means that you get some benefits through unemployment that you wouldn't normally get because of COVID.
Right. And I know for those watching, this is a lot of information that we're sharing with you. I'm grateful that we're sharing it because it, I believe, people will be like, oh, wait, that sounds like my situation. But we understand that maybe you can't capture all the details right now. We'll be adding links, and we also, into our comments, during the broadcast and after. So please, definitely go check that out. But we also encourage you, as you can see in the comments as well as on the screen, we've been putting the website and social media sites for New Jersey Citizen Action, and there's lots of information that you can receive by going there as well. So let's please.
I was just going to say, we do have a form that you can fill out if you need some counseling questions around taking time off work, dealing with leave. I can put that in the chat.
Yes, that would be great. And that, of course, then gives any of our viewers an opportunity to directly ask any questions that you have and get some support in terms of getting them answered. Again, we know that this is a lot of information, and many families have been struggling, for a long time. So, this might feel like a great aha moment to know that there's some, opportunities if you haven't been aware already that you can access them. So
yeah, go ahead.
I was going to say, just to add, because I know that there's more to share, and we want to make sure that our viewers get to hear about it. When we're talking about the New Jersey Paid Family Leave Program and family leave insurance, what can people actually use that for? And also, how can they access, what steps do they need to take to access New Jersey Paid Family Leave?
Yeah, so I always, thank you. I appreciate it because this is a program, as I mentioned before, that's over 10 years old. And a lot of people just aren't aware of this. This is a permanent program that we have in the state that we actually pay into. So all workers contribute, and employers for the disability portion. We contribute payroll taxes to fund this program. And so this is essentially your benefit when you need to access it. And there's two pieces. There's temporary disability insurance, which is for your own health. And a lot of people are familiar with temporary disability insurance because if they've had a child, you access this when you're pregnant and you're recovering from your delivery. So that's one way that a lot of people are familiar with temporary disability insurance. If you have an employer, some employers have a private disability plan. So that's just something to be aware of. But for those that don't, there's the state disability. And the family leave insurance is the paid family leave piece that's, relatively new. Temporary disability is actually 70 years old. That's why I say family leave insurance is new, even though it's just over 10 years old. But basically, it provides partial wages when you need to take time off to bond with a new child. That's both parents before the baby, either your birth child, your adopted child, or your foster child in the first year. And it also provides partial wages when you need to take time off to care for a loved one who is seriously ill. And that requires certification from a medical care provider. And so this program used to just provide 66% of wages. So a lot of people couldn't access it because they couldn't afford to just take 66% of their wages. They needed to be able to have more reimbursement. And so one of the things that we argued in our expansion of the program was to increase that. And so now it's 85% of your wages. There is a cap. It's $881 a week. And you can also now take it for anything related to COVID that your medical care provider can certify. So, if you're in quarantine, diagnosis, treatment, or caring for someone who's in quarantine, diagnosis, or treatment, you can access the program. There are some other things that people should be aware of. Just the biggest confusion that I find, people think they have to qualify for FMLA. So that's the Federal Medical Leave Act. You have to work at your job for a year. You have to earn 1,250 hours. That's job protection. This is different. This is the wage replacement. You only have to have worked 20 weeks and earned $200 in those 20 weeks, or $10,000 in about the year and a half before you take leave. And that can be at any employment in New Jersey. So it doesn't have to be with necessarily the employer you're taking leave from. So it's different. The eligibility is different than job protection. So that's just, to make it more confusing.
More confusing, but more options as well for our viewers. So we'll definitely include information about that as well. So we, and again, and as Yarrow had said, we'll put the form here. So if you have a specific situation that you have a question about and would like some guidance, that you can submit it. And Yarrow and her team at NJ Citizen Action, will assist in getting some information back to you.
I did put, I think I put it in the private chat. I don't know if you can see that.
Yep, we're moving everything over. Yep, we're moving everything.
I put the 2 links from the Department of Labor. So the Department of Labor created this great website around worker protections for this situation with schooling. And they outlined a lot of what I described in the beginning. And then myleavebenefits.nj.gov, that's also Department of Labor website. They oversee temporary disability and family leave insurance. That's where you go to apply. You can apply online for those benefits. So I put those for people to access. And the other thing I just want to mention, job protection can be really confusing. As I mentioned at the beginning, Governor Murphy did put job protection related to COVID during this crisis, but there is permanent job protection under the Family Leave Act. That's New Jersey Family Leave Act, not to be confused with family leave insurance. And it was expanded for COVID and for remote schooling. And so you just have to have 30 employees at your job. You have to have worked at your job for a year, that's true. And you have to have earned 1,000 hours. And that will protect your job for 12 weeks for caring for seriously a loved one related to COVID or not. Also for bonding, as I mentioned before, and now for remote schooling. So when your child's school is closed and you need to care for them, that's a job protection piece that's really important for a lot of people to be aware of, because it's new. It's an expansion of this permanent law. So I want to make sure people know about that.
Well, thank you.
I have a flyer up in the chat.
And we are moving all the links over. So again, those of you watching, you'll see there's a series of links coming into the comments. Feel free to click on them. And if you have questions, again, we do encourage you to fill out the form that goes right to New Jersey Citizen Action, and you can ask them questions about your unique situation and get some guidance on that. So, with all that, and clearly, folks watching, may have some other questions. And I know that you all are using your Facebook groups as an opportunity to be able to support and share information with families. Can you talk a little bit about that and how people can access them?
Yeah, so we do have the Time to Care Coalition public-facing, Facebook page, but then we created the Facebook group a few years ago, actually, NJ Families for Paid Leave. Group names are tricky, so you do have to get it right. Maybe we can put it in the chat too. But that's what has happened is it's been a little bit of talking about advocacy, right, around how we need to expand access to paid leave. Not only in New Jersey, we need to make it more equitable still, right? We need to make sure job protection is a piece of when we need to take paid leave, right? We don't have to jump through these hoops to access job protection. And so we talk a little bit about that on the federal level as well. There's a big push right now to talk about making paid family leave permanent in the US. Of course, we're so far behind the rest of the world. So we do a little bit of that. But what happens is a lot of, crowdsourcing of questions regarding accessing paid family leave, temporary disability, and other rights. People just get real confused, right? Because it is confusing. All the details can just make your head spin, especially if you are pregnant or if you just had a child. It's really, really tricky time. I went through it. It was tricky even for me at the time. And so this is a place where people can go to talk about what they're going through, questions they have. And so we do some Q&A, so to speak, there.
Great. So we will definitely, we'll get the link for that, and we'll put the link for that Facebook group right in. I just quickly did a search for it myself, and you're right, these things are tricky. Sometimes, one little tweak makes a difference about it coming up or not. But we will put the actual link to the Facebook group here. We'll get that and share it for you. I'm so grateful for you joining us. And I know that you yourself are doing the juggling act at home, as we said at the start. Any words of advice? I always like to leave with a little inspiration. Any words of advice for other parents in terms of how you're getting along? Any tricks? Anything you've learned?
Well, I save our screen time for moments like now.
Yeah.
My kids are little. They really need to not be on the screens as much as possible. And so I try to limit it. But at the same time, I know that it's just something that helps me, and I have to be okay with that. That's just me personally, where I've come, to land in this crisis. They're watching The Little Mermaid. I don't know.
Got a mermaid right behind me. You see her? Okay.
Oh yeah, that's cool. I have a fire hydrant. Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't pick the best background here. I do. Oh sure, I can put the Facebook group on. I just saw that in the chat. But I do think that it is important to understand that we have a culture that really, does expect workers to forget about their responsibilities, right? In the home for caring, and it does hurt everybody, right? When we have to pretend like we don't have a family, like we don't have to take care of our health, and that some employers, I think they need to understand the benefits for their workplace and for their well-being, in terms of their. I think that's my daughter coming now. And that takes a lot of bravery for us to say to our employer, I need to take care of myself. I need to take care of my family. But these laws and these programs are there to help make it easier, right? To help protect you and your rights. And we should feel like, we should do that. And talking to our coworkers can be really helpful. Talking to other moms and other parents, I shouldn't say just moms, but yes, we do disproportionately shoulder this burden, right? And collectively, start to make change. And I think that's what public policy is about, and that what we're trying to do in terms of advocating for additional programs, because there are gaps. There are a lot of people and a lot of different situations that there aren't options for. And so we need to continue to talk about what solutions are. Okay, so this is Teresa. Say hello.
Hi.
I'm going to look up that.
As I shared, anyone who's a frequent watcher of YWTV is very, it's a regular occurrence for me to do the one arm wave, as I call it, which is stay away, mommy's on video, or to do the bug eyes, which is I'm trying to talk to you with my eyes and not my mouth. So really you're getting what I'm saying. So it is a fact of being home, with our families, that they pop in. And I know that every family watching right now gets that. So,
yes. I mean, I think that's important to know. You're not alone.
Yeah.
Everyone
at all
is going through.
No matter who's working at home and what they do, our families are here too. So it's sometimes they join us.
Yeah, and I think that's been a really amazing thing about this is that we can show our lives for what they are, right? Hopefully. So I put the two Facebook groups, NJ Families for Paid Leave and NJ Working Parents Under COVID-19. That is very specific to the working parent issues and has a lot of resources specifically for that, a lot of what I went through today. So there you go.
Thank you. And so anyone watching, you can just click those links. It'll take you to the Facebook page and you can like it and follow it. And then you'll, within your newsfeed, will get the updates as they're provided. And you also have a more direct link, probably through Messenger and posts to be able to communicate with the team. Yaara, thank you so much for all the information. And to our viewers, again, we know that there was a lot there. So, sit with what kind of resonated for you, take a look at the links, and again, feel free to fill out the form and specifically get your unique question in to get answered. And if there's someone in your life that, a family member who is busy with their family right now, so they couldn't be watching, which we understand, it's very easy for you to share this conversation with them. You can either copy the link and send it to them individually through Messenger or through an email, or you can share it to your own Facebook page. And we encourage you to do that because the point of YWTV is spreading all this important information out into the community and getting that wider net. So with that, we hope that you can join us tomorrow. As you know, Thursdays, if you're a frequent watcher of YWTV, Thursdays is when we share the mic now, and we sharing our show with Black women in our community to amplify their voices. And I'm so happy tomorrow to be sharing the mic with Angela Barker, who is an attorney and a legal expert, and she'll be coming and talking with us. And on Friday, also another wonderful show, we have TNEC International Film Festival Executive Director Jeremy Lentz and Film Director Lucina Fisher joining us. As you may know, the TNEC International Film Festival is happening now, and it's a film festival with a social justice conscience, and we have been supporting it for many years. We are sponsoring 2 films, and one of them will be shown on November 24th on the evening, and it's Belly of the Beast, which has a focus about medical racism. And we encourage you to see the film. It's astounding. And we'll have a talk back afterwards, and which I'll be participating in with a very esteemed panel that I'm very grateful and honored to be on. So we hope that you join us for that. And on Friday evening, we have for our Girls Empowerment Network, you still time to sign up for our virtual etiquette party with Tiffany Kerr from Chic Situations. You can get yourselves ready for the holidays with some wonderful manners for girls ages 9 to 14, and their parents and caregivers get to join them. So you all learn together. And it's not too late to sign up for a 21-day racial equity justice challenge. The link will be here also for you in the comments. We do encourage you to learn more about issues of race, power, privilege, and leadership. This is a wonderful opportunity to do it and have a kind of an introspective place to read an article, listen to a podcast, watch a video, and learn more. And we do encourage you to share that link to get more people connected to learning. Our purpose is to create social justice warriors so that we can join important efforts like the ones that Yarrow leads and help make important changes in our communities. And with that, if you like what you're seeing on YWTV, we do encourage you to support our work. Please think about making a donation either on our website at ywcanj.org, or you can very easily just use your phone and text equality to 707070. We are grateful for our viewers. We're grateful for your support, and we hope everyone has a wonderful day. Thank you so much for your time today, Yaara, and so much important information. We wish everyone a great day, as I said, and be well. Bye-bye.